Hey, everybody. Do you want to win a free copy of this beautiful book? Do you want to know the secrets to classic French cooking? Do you want just that effortless meals to sort of appear? Well, you are in the right place. I'm super excited. This is Cookbooks with Virginia, and we are here this week, and I've got this gorgeous book with Susan Herrmann Loomis and Plat du Jour, and it's wonderful. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that if you want to win a copy, I want you to go to my Instagram feed. It's Virginia Willis, and you can get there if you go to my website, virginiawillis.com, and you're going to go to my feed, and you're going to see the cover of this book, and you're going to like it, follow the instructions, tag a friend, follow Susan, and you are going to be entered to win a free copy of Plat du Jour. I'm super excited to have Susan with me. Thank you so much for joining me from France.
Thank you, Virginia. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh my gosh, I jumped for joy when I put this book in my hand. This is just it is a beautiful book, Susan. It really is.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just, I think the thing is that we were talking about it, y'all, just a few minutes ago. French food is timeless.
It is timeless. It's based on tradition, and tradition doesn't change. Right. And so especially the recipes in Plat du Jour they're a mix of contemporary and traditional, but It's all based on these wonderful notions of local, seasonal, traditional food. And The French have been living that way forever, and they go to the market every day. The chef goes to the market every day, and he or she chooses whatever is at the market that looks best and goes back to the restaurant or the home or wherever and makes a Plat du Jour.
I just think that's wonderful. And I remember when I lived in Burgundy, and like you'd go, you go to the market and whether it's the produce or the cheese or whatever, like they want to know, like, are you eating it today? Or are you eating it tomorrow? Are you eating it for lunch? Or are you eating it for dinner? Like, that's how in tune everyone is to ripeness and to seasonality. And I always just remember thinking that was just so wonderful and fascinating.
Well, it's funny because to a French person, food is not just something you eat it, but you enjoy it. You take pleasure in it. And really from the minute you go to buy the ingredients. So I was trying to communicate that in Plat du Jour because I live in Paris, and I realized, and I've done all kinds of reporting on farms and talked to farmers all my life, and
right.
And the connection is so close to the soil here and so close to what everybody learned in grandmother's kitchen. And, there are a lot of contemporary recipes in here, but when you talk about where they came from, their roots are in the tradition.
Right. So y'all, it's a Plat du Jour, plate of the day, right? So it really is. And you have, let's talk a little bit about the formula, about how that works out, like in a bistro or in a cafe in France. Will you explain that?
It's really the best deal around. So what happens is that, the chef in a bistro or brasserie or a small restaurant anywhere, they often have repeat visitors, and they know that they've got to provide variety, they've got to provide quality, so people will return.
Right.
So the formule is a Plat du Jour and a dessert, or a first course, which is called an entrée, and a Plat du Jour, and it's sold for a price, which can be €11 to €18. It's always a very good deal. It usually comes with a glass of wine, and maybe it'll come with a cup of coffee after.
Right.
So it's a package deal, and I present these recipes as part of a formule.
And it's beautiful, and it's beautiful. The photography is just spectacular. So I'm going to show some pictures while you keep talking about that.
Well, the other thing about a Plat du Jour is that you go in and you sit down, and oftentimes the server will bring you something to keep you busy. It's called an amuse-bouche. Something to amuse your mouth. So it might be those radishes that you showed with bread, butter, and salt, or it might be a savory cake, or a bowl of olives, seasoned olives. That's duck braised in cider.
Oh my gosh.
That's so you've got something to do while you're deciding what you want to eat. And usually a plat du jour, there'll be two or three choices, usually not more.
Look at that. Doesn't that look just exquisite? And it really is. I mean, I think that the thing that I love so much, people have this perspective, I think, that all French food is like super fancy or all French food is super rich. And I find it actually, in terms of the fancy part, I mean, it just sounds fancy, right? It's not, I mean, like that was chicken in a pot, just like simmered chicken or the bread, it is not inherently always this micromanaged food, right? Like some of the.
Well, it's not micromanaged, but I will say that it is carefully thought through.
Right.
So it is more than just ingredients in a pot. So you add things at a certain time, and it's not at all rocket science. The recipes are simple, they're very easy to follow, but there's a reason that things are in a certain order. And I think what makes food so special is the creation of the flavor.
Right.
So that when you sit down to what looks like a boiled chicken, you're getting this incredible flavor, but also the chicken started out great, the vegetables started out great. And, most places you could get ingredients like that wherever you live, but you need to know that that's what you need to make wonderful food.
Right. So, and the French really are just so great. Like the respect for the ingredients, right? Like it's not, I mean, everything is just so, the attention to detail, I think is just stupendous.
It is. I mean, I think that's the other thing, if you're precise, it's not that they don't cook instinctively, because they do, but that instinct is born of centuries of them inheriting. It's like, there's the whole theory that you're born with certain things in your DNA. Well, I think the French are born with appreciation for fine food in their DNA.
Right.
And knowledge of where to find it. And then finally, men or women, more women than men cook at home, more men than women cook in restaurants. A sense of how to put flavor together.
Right.
And it might be 4 herbs, some vegetables, and a chicken, or a piece of fish, but it becomes something extraordinary.
Right. No, and look at this sandwich, right? This is just simple, beautiful sandwich that looks so delicious and so refreshing.
But about that sandwich, that's called a pain bagnat, which means baked bread. It's from the Côte d'Azur. And there's actually a club formed around that sandwich because it's so iconic to that region. And so the club makes sure that if a restaurant is serving that sandwich, it only has certain ingredients in it, so that the restaurant gets a little plaque and it says, "We serve an authentic pain bagnat here."
It's like an appellation contrôlée.
It is, and it's that's what I love about France. I mean, these groups form around recipes to make sure that they're being prepared properly.
Right. But there is, I mean, do you feel like, I still feel like that there's classic and tradition, but French food is certainly not without innovation, right?
Oh, there's much innovation. In fact, one of the recipes in Plat du Jour is for monkfish poached in clarified butter with white beans. And it's from a little restaurant down the street from me that's got a huge reputation. And I was talking to the chef one day, what was the Plat du Jour that day? And he said, well, I was going to do lamb with white beans, which is extremely traditional. Of course, we would use the best lamb, the best beans, etc. And he said, wait a minute. I was thinking, but wait, it's monkfish season. Why don't I do monkfish instead of lamb? So he did. It's gorgeous. I made it. I put it in the book because I wanted people to see that from a traditional base, you can go anywhere.
Right.
There's a seafood pot-au-feu. Now, normally pot-au-feu is made with beef, but this one, Roger Verger is the instigator of it, and it's very contemporary, very simple. Fish, vegetables, kind of in a broth, braised, incredible. From the idea of pot-au-feu.
That's wonderful.
There are also recipes here for leftovers.
No, it's all very doable. Oh my gosh, look at that beautiful quiche. That is so gorgeous. So y'all, okay, let me tell them about the book again. So please go to my Instagram feed. You're going to see the cover of this book. You're going to follow the instructions, and it's beautiful, and it's just poached eggs on carrot puree. Oops, on Moret. Oh my God, that was one of my exam dishes.
Well, this is a very contemporary version of such a simple dish, but you can do that. You can deconstruct a dish in France and take each element and do something a little different with it, and you've got something simple, but a little more flashy than the way it began.
Oh my gosh, eggplant disguise. I have to figure out what that's about. That's so cool. Y'all, this is a beautiful, beautiful book. And look at this little apple galette, little pretty sweet apple galette. So y'all, beautiful recipes, beautiful photography. And Susan, your recipes are all, you have such a reputation for meticulously written and tested recipes. So y'all can certainly count on them working and being real and true. Oh, look at that, the steamed cod with melted leeks and caper sauce. So let's see who we've got here today. We have someone from Peru. How exciting is that? So Basiji is here, and Edgar, and my mom is here. My mom is always here. She says, "Hey, Susan."
Hi, Mom.
So how long have you lived in France? For a long time. How long have you lived in France?
I've lived here 30 years.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. And you're in Paris?
I'm in Paris now. I was in Normandy for about 27 years, and I moved here full-time last year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought that you had been in Normandy. That's wonderful. So Cynthia Stevens Grabart is here saying, "Hey, y'all." So, when this book just recently came out? And so tell me, what inspired you? Like, is it with the Plat du Jour? Like, what was it that you felt that, that this would be a good time for this book, French Dinners Made Easy?
Well, one never knows. It actually couldn't be a better time for this book. Of course, it began well before we knew anything about anything,
right? Which
is always the case with a book.
Yes.
But this is the 14th book I've written, and I've devoted a lot of time to interviewing producers and visiting farms and visiting regions and in several different countries. And it just occurred to me to distill some of this into a book that was contemporary,
right?
Fed into a contemporary idea, and to really my goal with my cooking school that is it's now online, my cooking school, but is to get people in the kitchen, succeeding in the kitchen. That's all I want. I want people to get in there, have a recipe that they can easily follow, and that results in something kind of spectacular. But it doesn't take you all day. It doesn't require extremely complicated ingredients. I mean, there's nothing in this book that you can't find.
No, it's wonderful. Look at this, the chicken with walnuts and lemon for the don don. Oh my gosh. Okay, so olive oil, chicken, salt, pepper, lemon juice, wine, garlic, and walnuts. I mean, you couldn't be more simple than that.
It's from a farm. I got that from a farmer I know, and she made this dish, and I thought, oh my God, she's got walnut trees outside of her house. She's got chickens in the farmyard. Lemons are a throwback, but you can't really, it's hard to cook without a lemon. Yeah. So, so she creates this dish, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing I ever ate. But she's been cooking for her whole life, right, with what she had at hand. Right. And I must say about seasonal local, that's always been my speech for 35 years.
It tastes better.
But if I need a lemon, I'm not going to get weird about it. You got to have lemon. I love coffee. I want to drink tea. I want to use sugar. So I think, mostly fresh produce and meats and things like that, you've got to really learn to shop for the seasons, because budget-wise, it's great.
Right.
And flavor-wise, it's even better.
Right. No, I was recently somewhere, and I didn't order this, obviously, but it was February, and I was served zucchini and yellow squash, and it just it broke my heart. I don't know how to say it any other way. All I could think was, oh my gosh, butternut squash or acorn squash or curry, or like 10,000 winter squashes that are like perfectly wonderful right now. I love this. I love sauce vierge. I think that is one of my favorite things for summer.
And that's a 5-minute, 10-minute summer dinner practically, and what you say about that in February, eating summer vegetables, I mean, number one, they had to travel. Number two, they don't have any flavor or much. So I must say, though, that I was at the market the other day and I bought a bouquet of carrots with their greens on them. And I said to the grower, who's right there, you know, he drives in twice a week. And I said, well, how can your carrots have the fun or the leaves? I said, how can they do that? He says, well, they always have fun on them. We just have these in the greenhouse so the fun stay green.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because, it just depends on what farmers, you know, and farmers experiment just like everyone else.
Right.
So through the use of channeling heat and using the sun and doing all that kind of stuff, sometimes the seasons are changing. Right now we've got radishes coming up and it's very early. But we've had a warm winter, so they're sprouting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So Cheryl Pittman says, I love how cookbooks are becoming coffee table books. Beautiful. Well, this is certainly a beautiful book, but it makes me want to cook from it. It definitely makes me want to. Lamb chops with rosemary and orange syrup. Oh my gosh, Susan, that sounds spectacular. Look at that, y'all.
It is a 10-minute dinner. It's wonderful. You just reduce fresh orange juice. That's it.
That's it. Yes. No. Orange juice, olive oil, lamb chops, salt, pepper. I mean, you know, if you're putting that in. And then we've got quinoa, saffron scented lamb, vegetable, and chickpea soup for couscous. Fresh lamb and roast lamb with fresh shell beans and garlic. That looks wonderful. Oh, wow. Oysters and spiced lamb patties. Tell me a little bit about that. That's fascinating.
Well, it's a surf and turf kind of thing, but it's actually got its feet rooted in tradition south of Bordeaux. There's a big oyster fishery. There's lamb and the lamb patties. The farmers used to make the lamb patties, take them out to the field and eat them for lunch.
Oh.
And it's when you go to a restaurant in Bordeaux, you might get that combination because it's the oysters from the sea and the lamb from the land, and it's a marvelous combination. The French love lamb, and I never
love lamb. There's a butter. What is this? A butter drenched steak? Maybe not drenched. Butter drizzled steak with potatoes.
Yeah. You know, the butter on their steak. Yeah.
So wonderful. So tell me, you were telling me before we started, tell me more about Dancing Tomatoes. Let everybody know how to learn more about you and where your classes are and all sorts of all that good stuff.
Well, I'm working with a producer and director, and we launched a YouTube channel called Dancing Tomatoes. It's a website, dancingtomatoes.com. And right now, what we're doing is introducing ourselves. If you go on YouTube, you'll find lots of videos on how to prepare certain things. And we call ourselves a sustainable cooking program because I talk a lot about local and seasonal, and I teach you how to cook. And right now we're based in France, but we have big plans for the entire world. And if you go to the website, dancingtomatoes.com, you'll find everything about us. And we are going to launch a cooking course in about a little less than a month. So I hope you'll go visit. I hope you'll sign up for the newsletter and the YouTube channel. And it's one of the most fun projects I've ever done. I just love it.
Oh, that's so wonderful. It's really fantastic, I think, like this, right? Like the technology has changed so much, and thank goodness, right? Like, can you imagine, you know, how different life would have been this past year or so with COVID without all this wonderful technology, right? And the fact that, you know, you're in Paris right now and I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and we're having this conversation about your beautiful cookbook. You know, I mean, it really is wonderful. So that's super exciting. So if people go to YouTube and search Dancing Tomatoes, or if they go to dancingtomatoes.com, they can find you.
They'll find everything about what we're up to. Absolutely.
That is so great. So we've got, so David Leibowitz says, Susan Herrmann Loomis sizzles with a collection of French recipes made even better when cooked over flames. You'll find yourself delighted. Patricia Wells, who is better qualified than Susan Herrmann Loomis? That's a pretty damn good resounding who is better qualified to teach us the traditions of home-cooked French fare. The cuisine is made for the way we all want to cook today. Simple, generous, economic, and restorative. This book with its mouth-watering photographs makes you want to race to the kitchen and start cooking. Well, yay you. What a great blurb.
Well, I have to say she hit the nail on the head, because it is the kind of food everybody wants. It is so doable. It makes you feel happy to make it. It makes you feel happier to sit down and eat it, and you want to share it with people, which we can do in many ways. And life will resume where we can do it all the time.
Right. No, but you're right. There are, oh, look at that. The smoked herring and potato salad. Just, oh, this is making me starving, which is exactly what you want a cookbook to do.
Exactly.
That's so great. It's just so lovely. So, so how many, let's see. So we've got all of these recipes and photographs, and you take people through the season, and it's every recipe, y'all, has a lovely head note that tells you a little bit about it, a little bit about the food, a little bit about the history of the dish. Oh, look at this. Gosh, I haven't seen these in so long. The tuna stuffed peppers.
Yeah.
You're so right, though. You know, when you sit down at an American restaurant, like, you know, you'll get the water and that's kind of it. But when you do, it's right. You know, when you sit down, the hospitality starts the minute you sit down at the table, like with
the minute you walk in the door, practically.
Yes.
And
or they encourage you in, you know.
Yeah, no, it's really, mealtime in France is an event. And you know, I often will, you know, I visit the States often, and people will rush to dinner before the theater, or you know, go out to dinner after a movie. And in France, you go to dinner. I mean, that's what you do.
Right.
And so it lasts for a long time. Same with lunch. I mean, if someone invites me for lunch, I know it's going to be an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I love that, because you sit, you enjoy it. It's a moment, and then you go off and do whatever you're going to do. But food is very important. And I think that's the pleasure of being in France. And it's the pleasure we can recreate easily.
Right. No, and I think that, you know, it's really so much more of mindful. It's mindful. You know, we talk about self-care and meditation and mindfulness. I mean, I think that that's really sort of at the heart of French dining, right? It's like they're mindful about the ingredients, mindful about the preparation, mindful about the consumption, mindful about the company. I mean, I remember when we were working on a book with Anne Willen years ago in France, you know, all the Americans wanted to like eat a sandwich and work through lunch, and she was like, we sat down every day for 2 hours at lunch. You know?
And you know, mindful is a new word applied to an old concept, because what I love, you know, I lived in a small French town for 27 years, and you know, meals were huge for all of us. Our friends, we'd get together over meals, and people are not competitive about what they cook, but they want to give that to people. It's a gift. Right. And I talk a lot about this in the book, because, you know, whenever you can make something in an individual serving, do it, because that is a gift for your guest. But even making a beautiful dish, make it look beautiful. It will taste beautiful. That's a gift that you're giving. And the French are very generous in that way. And they're very proud about all that. And I just love that part of living here, because food has its place, and it's
it's so much part of the culture. So I have to ask you though, going from Normandy to Paris, I mean, Paris is a huge city. I mean, how did that city mouse, country mouse thing work out?
Well, easy, because I lived here before, so I know the city. I worked here. I taught the history of French gastronomy, so I was always here. I was only an hour away.
Okay.
And, it just was a logical thing. My kids went off to college, and I just thought, you know, I've done this, you know, this is great. I love it, but I'm ready for something new and something that I love. And I am an urban person, and it just fits like a glove. You know, I do everything with a bicycle. I don't have a car, and you know, it's just really a wonderful lifestyle.
That's so lovely. And hopefully things are getting more back to normal there too.
Not yet. No, we don't know. I mean, things are normal. You can go to any shop you want. You just can't eat out. So, whatever, you know, it's just a moment to live through.
It is. But I think that I know that here, more people are cooking. I mean, I feel so terrible for my friends that are restaurateurs. But it's just wonderful how many more people are cooking. And you and I have that same sort of ethos, like get in the kitchen. I just try to like do as little to things as possible, so not to mess a good ingredient up. Just like simple.
Yeah, the French way is get out of the way of the ingredients, let them speak for themselves. So we're the guiding hand. We're the guiding hand. A good recipe is a guiding hand, but you don't want to mask it because it's so good.
Right. All right. So let's see who else is here. We've got Beverly here. She joins us every week. And Cheryl says, thank you for being more mindful. Well, when you're looking at recipes like this, it's not hard. And so also, please, Susan, tell people about this astuce. I think that's wonderful. These little tricks and techniques you have throughout the book.
Well, that's something I started doing in my books, and it just is because I live here. And so when you're looking for a trick or a tip or something that's going to make the recipe that much more clear, then I'll pull that out and make a note of it. And I call it an astuce. And it might be, putting your artichokes in lemon water so they don't turn black, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of, how would you slice an onion so that it's really easy, or how would you, whatever I can think of or whatever I notice.
Right.
That'll make something good. Or you have a head of lettuce that's a little limp.
Mm-hmm.
You put it in a bowl and put vinegar in the water, and it just perks right up.
That's wonderful. Yeah, all those little tricks are what's so important. And I think that people get, cooking is such a joy to me. And so I don't understand it when people are terrified by it. But I think that there are a lot of people, they're just so scared that they're going to mess up. So y'all, it's like there's this recipe for salted butter caramel ice cream. Oh my God. And the operative word here when making ice cream is zen. It's all very simple, but you have to be relaxed and attentive, and don't listen to those voices that tell you it's impossible to make caramel. So you really are sort of like holding people's hands as they cook your book. And that's just so wonderful.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was an apprentice at a French cooking school. And so the whole caramel thing was like, oh my God, you have to do this and this and that. So I moved to the country, and all my friends are cooks. They all make caramel like in 8 seconds all the time.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. What? Why? And so I'm looking at them and I'm going, caramel is super easy to make. So is a fabulous chocolate sauce. So are all these things. And of course, there is a traditional technique, but I am telling you, certain things, you just make them.
Right.
And being relaxed in the kitchen, when my students would come, I would, the first thing we did after we tasted salt was I'd say, okay, everybody take a deep breath. You're here to have a good time and you're going to learn. Don't worry. Don't worry. Any problem, there's a solution. And I think if people can relax and have confidence, but that's what the recipes in Plat du Jour are about.
No, exactly. So y'all really do go to my Instagram, sign up to win this book. You go buy this book if you don't win this book. I'm just thrilled to have this book on my shelf. Okay, so I have 5 questions that I ask everybody at the end of the show. So are you ready for my little rapid fire on the 5?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. So what is the last cookbook you read or cooked from other than your own?
Oh my goodness. I love historic cookbooks. So it's probably Jeanette Mathieu, which is, it's kind of like the Joy of Cooking version French.
Oh, yes. No, I know. I get so many notes from people that love cookbooks and they read them like novels, right? So I love to read a cookbook. All right, and this is I love this one because this one's been different. What is your most indispensable cooking tool? Like, what is your desert island?
My desert island is a plastic scraper. It's called a corne, and it's shaped like this. And I use them all the time, and I make sure my students have them. And I don't know how you can cook without it. I mean, that implies you have a good knife. Yes.
No, I know that is a definite. I don't think I have it here. I don't always have a comb, but I do love the bench scraper, and so I know what you're talking about exactly. And so that's just those little things like that become second nature to have in the kitchen. All right, so of the 5 flavors, sour, salty, bitter, sweet, and savory, what's your go-to? Like, what's your favorite sour, salty, bitter, sweet, or savory flavor?
It's so funny. I was talking to the producer of Dancing Tomatoes today. Mine is salty, absolutely, hands down.
There you go. I know. Well, so, and do you call, let me see what you do with your recipes. Yes, you do the same as I do. You don't call for the amounts of salt, and that it either makes people happy or incredibly pissed off, I find.
Well, I do if I need to, but oftentimes you don't know because you don't know who's going to eat the food. So, you know, if I'm going to have people cook pasta, I tell them what I think is the right ratio of salt to water or blanch a vegetable. But salt is very, very subjective. And if you put too much in, you can't take it out. So I think it's better to imply a large pinch, a small pinch. It's a tough one. It's like an oven temperature. Everybody's oven is different.
I know. And I remember when I was in culinary school a million years ago, you know, you'd ask the chef, well, what temperature and how long, and hot oven until it's done. And, you know, in terms of salt, you know, the zucchini from Georgia might taste different than the zucchini from France, right? So, you know, it's going to, depending on the season and depending on what part of the summer it's ripe and where the soil is. So it really, I
think what a lot of people don't remember is salt is a flavor enhancer. Right. So it is the kind of thing that you adjust at the very end, and it is very personal.
Yeah, no, so I agree.
The better question to ask, not how much, but which salt are you using?
This is true too, right? This is true too. I mean, I think I probably have at least 10 different salts right beside my stovetop, and depending on what I'm doing, will determine the salt.
Well, I think it's very important to use sea salt, and I do a salt tasting with every class I teach, and it is not a snob thing. It is not about how much it costs. It's about flavor.
Yeah, no. And what I always tell people, like, you know, the minerals and elements are going to be different than the sea salt from France. If there was sea salt off the coast of Georgia, right? Like it all tastes different. And then I love the different structure of the crystals. Like, you know, like the Malden has a specific texture that's good with certain things, or the, you know, Cell Gris, they're more crunchy and bigger pieces, you know, and sometimes that's going to be, you know, wonderful. Well, I love that you love salty. All right, this is getting to be this might be a little bit more tricky, but I'm always curious to see what people see. So, what is your favorite cooking show or celebrity chef? And I'm not saying throw anybody under the bus, but if you were going to watch food television, who would you want to watch?
You know, it's funny. I'm a really bad person to ask that of because I don't watch TV.
There you go.
And I'm sorry to say, it's just that I work a lot.
Yep.
And I read. And I'm not a television watcher. I'm a magazine reader. And, you know, so I can't even really address the question.
No, well, that's good.
But if you ask everybody else, I want them ultimately to say I'm their favorite person.
There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. And this is, you know, we've talked this whole show about how mindful the French are about eating and how there's a place for lunch and a time and the dedication from the get-go. So I always think that has so much to do with food memories. What is like a really integral like food memory for you?
Oh, I have so many. I grew up in a household with a grandmother and a mother who cooked beautiful things. Oh boy. Well, okay, this is a more recent food memory, but one of the best dishes I ever ate in my life was a warm potato salad with fresh truffles. And that's it. I mean, there was a little bit of oil on the potatoes and some fleur de sel, and it was Guy Savoy, and that was one of the things that he served. And when I worked on the Food Lover's Guide to Paris with Patricia Wells, and that we had that salad, I never forgot it. I have recreated it many times. Simple, simple, simple.
His food is so beautiful.
You know, it was just wonderful. But I have so many memories. I mean, food is memory. Mm-hmm. You know, everything you eat is memory. I mean, I can sit and eat a steamed bowl of broccoli with garlic and olive oil and remember the first meal I had in a French home. Uh-huh. You know, which I ate that and I was like, whoa, this is the most wonderful thing I've ever had.
I know, right? It's just amazing. We have Mary Martin Smith who tells me who writes that she's making caramel icing for a brown sugar pound cake while she's listening to the show.
I love it.
I love Mary for your multitasking. Carrie says, hey, yay, we got lots. Well, Susan, it's just been so wonderful having you on
Thank you.
today. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited, y'all, about her beautiful new book, Plat du Jour, French Dinners Made Easy, put out by Countryman Press. Absolutely gorgeous book. Congratulations.
Thank you, Virginia, and thank you for having me on this lovely program.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Well, thank you so much for being on today. Hey, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Really exciting. So this airs every Friday, 11:30, live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And just got tons of great guests lined up for the next couple of months. Really exciting stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to check out Susan's awesome book. Thanks for watching, and bon appetit, y'all.